In the shadowy underbelly of Nazi Germany, there existed a force designated to instill fear, enforce totalitarian rule, and crush dissidents. The Gestapo, officially known as the Geheime Staatspolizei, or Secret State Police. They were the embodiment of Nazi terror. Their reach was extensive, their methods ruthless, their legacy horrifying. Welcome back to the channel. Today we will dive into one of the more chilling episodes of Nazi rule, the Gestapo. From their origins, their diabolical practices, this video will uncover how secret police forces operated, the atrocities they committed, and the psychological terror they unleashed on millions. The Gestapo was established in 1933 by Hermann Göring, but was soon taken over by Heinrich Himmler and his deputy, Reinhard Heydrich. Unlike regular police forces, the Gestapo operated without judicial oversight. They had the power to arrest, detain, and to execute anyone deemed a threat to the Nazi regime. But how did they wield this power? The Gestapo mastered the art of surveillance. They relied heavily on an extensive network of informants. Imagine this: your neighbour, co-worker, and even your family members could be reporting your every move. A misplaced joke, an offhand comment, or even just suspicion could land you in their crosshairs. One chilling account comes from Berlin resident Margarete Fischer, who was betrayed by her neighbour after expressing doubts about Hitler. In her word, "I had thought I was speaking in confidence, but within days the Gestapo were at my door." It's estimated that less than 10% of Gestapo's arrests came from direct investigations. The rest? Well, informants. Fear of betrayal fractured communities and silenced opposition, creating an environment where trust was a luxury few could afford. Once targeted, individuals faced arrest without warning, and once in Gestapo's custody, few ever returned. The Gestapo's interrogation methods were nothing short of barbaric. Prisoners were subjected to beatings, sleep deprivation, electric shocks, and psychological torment. Their goal wasn't just to extract information, but to break the human spirit. One harrowing first-hand account comes from Hans Fallad, a writer who was detained by the Gestapo. He later described the interrogation process, saying, "They didn't just want confessions. They wanted to strip you of your dignity, to make you feel less than human." Another survivor, Gunther Weisenborn, was taken prisoner and beaten for hours. "They asked me the same questions again and again, trying to get me to betray my friends." The Gestapo would often use multiple forms of torture so as to demoralize and get the information that they sought after. One such form was the physical torture. Beatings were routine. Officers used fists, batons, and even whips to inflict excruciating pain on prisoners. Prisoners were often beaten within an inch of their life, crushing fingers and pulling off fingernails with pliers. Electric shocks were also another favourite technique. Psychologically, they would often carry out mock executions, blindfolding prisoners and leading them to where they believed they would be killed. Commonly with female prisoners, there was a sexual element, including rape, forced nudity, and degrading abuse. The creative members of the Gestapo would also use the environment as a form of torture, confining prisoners in freezing cells, dousing them with water, leaving them shiver for hours, often deliberately starving and denying water, leaving them physically weak and mentally shattered. Some were forced into stress positions, such as kneeling on sharp objects or standing motionless for hours. These methods caused severe cramping, swelling, and long-lasting damage. Then there were the particular institutions themselves that were renowned, the Gestapo prisons and camps. The headquarters in Berlin, Prince Albert Strauss 8, was an infamous torture chamber. Similar facilities existed in regional Gestapo offices across Germany and occupied territories, where interrogations often ended in death. In the concentration camps, Gestapo agents collaborated with their SS officers to implement even more horrifying methods of torture. Starvation, forced labour, and brutal beatings were daily occurrences. For many, an encounter with the Gestapo ended in horrors of the concentration camp. The Gestapo used a term called protective custody, a euphemism for indefinite imprisonment without trial. Prisoners were sent to camps like Dachau or Sachsenhausen or Auschwitz, where they faced brutal conditions, forced labour, and often death. A survivor, Miklos Niesli, who was sent to Auschwitz, wrote, "The Gestapo didn't care about guilt or innocence. If they wanted you gone, you were gone." One particular devastating story comes from Alfreda Scholz, the sister of an anti-Nazi writer, Erich Remarque, arrested by the Gestapo for her connection with her brother. She was executed in 1943. Her death certificate cited the reason as undermining morality. After the war, the full extent of the Gestapo's crimes came to light. During the Nuremberg Trials, their organisation was declared a criminal entity. Yet for many survivors, the psychological scars remain long after the physical wounds had healed. Take the testimony of Kurt Klein, a Holocaust survivor who had lost his family to the Gestapo's brutality. He said, "They didn't just destroy lives, they destroyed hope. The fear they instilled lingers long after their reign of terror had ended." Thank you for watching this video. If any of this is poignant to you, please consider sharing. It is crucial to remember these darker chapters in history. Not to dwell too long on the past, but to ensure that such atrocities do not repeat themselves.